Cool. Hi, everyone. We're live. My name is Ryan. We've got Madeline. We're going to be moderating. And we've got Tanka and David in Nepal. How are you guys going?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, it's been an absolutely extraordinary visit to Nepal. It's my first time to Nepal. And I thought that I understood community poverty well, and I thought that I knew community resilience well. And I thought that I understood isolated communities well, but really this has taken it to new frontiers for me at a very personal level. We travel on roads where 4x4s often don't travel for a year apart. It's otherwise just tractors in the most rural areas. Meet communities that have never had a foreigner visit them before. There's a cute incident yesterday visiting a school where one kid stood up and said, why do you look different to me? And look, that could cover many different bases, but it did tell me fundamentally that we're dealing with extraordinary communities that, because of terrain and poverty, have to find their own solutions and find partners that help them find their own solutions. So it's been an extraordinary experience for me. Tanka, I don't know what your experience of this trip is, because it's taken you to some areas that you've never been.
First of all, thank you so much for visiting different parts of the community in Rupum here. It is a great privilege for HDCS to welcome you. And of course, visiting in community was very touchy, and we could see local level issues directly and hearing from different level of people, including child club, teacher, parents, and also government officials. And thank you so much for listening to those issues directly and having live interaction with them. Obviously, there are so many challenges we have been facing in the community and working together. And also, we are very much thankful for this working opportunity with INA.
Wow. So we've also got Kapil. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes,
Okay.
Kapil's the executive director of our international needs partner in Nepal.
Okay.
Kapil based in Kathmandu, but all of the programs, including the work that Tanka and the team does on the ground, fall within the framework of the organization that Kapil leads. So international needs' model is not to go into communities, employ staff, and run its own programs. We partner with an organization that has very grassroots connections and has a philosophy of co-designing solutions with the communities that they work with. And Kapil and HDCS Tanka set the standard in terms of the respect for community, the co-design with community. And we'll let Kapil talk a bit about HDCS and some of the work they do. From Kathmandu, Kapil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for this time. So it is it's a great pleasure to see you all. So my name is Kapil, and I'm working with HDCS since last 25 years. And now I'm taking the role of the executive director of the HDCS. So HDCS was established in 1991. It's a faith-based organization, and we are working three sectors: health, education, and community development. So under the health sector, we are operating 3 hospitals in different rural areas. And in the education sector, we run an international school for the children of the expatriate who are working in Nepal. Under that, we are supporting about 30 government schools to support them for the quality improvement. And we have a daycare center for special children with the mentally disabled children. And in the community development sector, we are running 5 radio stations, different part of the country. country, and the Wali and the MCS also comes under the community development sector. So we have a so limit time, so I would not say all the things and whatever we are doing. So we are so thankful with the INA for the partnering with HDCS. Now HDCS vision is to be living witness God's love and transform the communities. So through the Wali and MCS, we are now really transforming the communities and the especially in the rural area. So we are so thankful. SDCS are so thankful with the INA partnering with the SDCS, and we hope in future we will work together, really transform the people, changing the life of the people. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kapil.
Thanks, Kapil.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So tell me just a bit more about the radio station. It's not the first thing you think of, but
yeah. In terms of
you want from the. Okay, we are running 5 radio stations, different part of the country, and through the radio, we broadcast the message about health and hygiene, this education and agriculture. That is linked with the the supporting the people, especially the grassroots people. We are broadcasting the information through the radio.
I think that's also an interesting point, Ryan, that I've picked up, is there's often a tension between, and through Australian government support and through the support of key donors and supporters, we've been able to provide stretchers for women who need to give birth. At the health outposts, we provided oxygen concentrators during COVID in the most remote communities to save lives. But there's always that balance between how much do you invest in infrastructure, how much do you invest in awareness, and we must have met close on 500 people at a grassroots level, and we ask that question each time. And what's coming through quite strongly is infrastructure obviously is important, but awareness is the critical missing piece. How to care for your child's nutrition, and obviously many of the young children are under the key threshold for nutrition, and that's improving in the areas where HDCS has been working. But a baby was sitting on Tanka's lap, and he said, reach over and feel this baby, the top of this baby's arm, and he said, that's a malnourished child. And literally what I was feeling was bone under skin. And I think the awareness thing is what is really been highlighted as important. People don't know information, and they want to know it as the starting point for them taking control of their own lives. And that applies, and part of what we've been talking about is how much do we provide through training at a grassroots level. We want to scale it up. So for us to be effective, we've got to find something that works, that's co-designed with community, but that is scalable and impactful. And we're looking at, we've asked at each of the health posts and schools, even in terms of teacher development, how can digital resources be used? And that's come through, again, as something that the communities are quite willing to embrace, is how to actually develop high quality digital resources that we could use on the ground alongside the face-to-face awareness program, so that there's a constant message around baby nutrition, constant message even around how to grow your own business. And we walked onion fields where women who were previously unemployed are growing onion seeds for sale in the market. And now they're talking about how to form cooperatives and get the product to market during times of shortage so that they can get maximum return. So they're across the principles and the issues, they're in control of their destinies, they're just needing the technical support to help them get there. So just building on that message from Kapil around the radio stations and your question, that awareness is so critical.
So because of geographical location also, it's very challenging to reach each household immediately, but radio has been very effective means of communication, and people are aware through radio. That was verified by interaction with students and also women's group in the community. That was very inspiring. And that is how we are reaching to raise community awareness in education, health, and also about the developing self-esteem among the women's group. They said that because of project, they are able to talk and are discussing about the local issues and finding the ways.
And on that point about access to communities, part of the discussion we've had before I came on this trip is we work with communities at the edges, communities who are not only marginalized, but at the edges of marginalized. But coming here, I thought to myself, that's disrespectful in a way, because we're at the edges of their communities. But either way, there's geographic and many other barriers between us. And we are actively exploring ways in terms of how we can maximize the spread of the message in a scalable way. Could I make one other comment, Ryan and Madeline? I think what's also come through really strongly on this trip is the issue, and we've not prompted discussion. We've had discussion with groups of kids, teachers, mothers groups, and this project has been quite central in the establishment of mothers groups that start off saying we want to talk about maternal child health, and then they say, wait a minute, we're mobilized now and in control of a journey here. There are bigger issues and other issues than maternal child health. There's issues of education, there's issues of employment, there's issues of domestic violence. One group said our partners' husbands know that we as a group of women come together and discuss issues of domestic violence, so they know that they might be discussed in the group. So that itself has reduced the level of domestic violence in some communities. But what's been remarkable is that because there's so little employment, many people have chosen to leave the community to go to India, the Gulf states, the US to seek employment, which leads to a whole raft of other social problems. Poverty is also a key driver of child marriage. So we have kids 13, 14 getting married. And I always thought of that as an issue of age differential between, the girl getting married and the guy. It's not. It's both of them are people underage. The family of the girl saying we can't support you anymore. You're going to have to. This is your only solution out of here. And in one visit yesterday, we met a girl who stepped forward, put her chin out, and said, "I want to talk about this, and I want to communicate to other children about that." And we asked her if she'd be prepared to share her story on this in this meeting. She said yes, and we said, you and your husband are one, so both of you are welcome to join us. She's with us with her baby, and her husband has just walked in. So they'd like to share some of their story. We don't know what they're going to say, and then we just said speak from the heart, what your issues are, and Tanka will ask some questions. So are you okay if we move into that? We have changed her name just to protect her confidentiality. We won't show her face. She was 14 or 15 when she got married. She's 18 now, fully aware of what this is about, and really wants to share it. So, sorry, I was becoming emotional as I was talking about it. I'll ask her to come across, Tanka, if that's okay, Ryan, and let you have a conversation.
Yeah, sure. Ryan?
Yes. That sounds great. So maybe just keep her obviously out of the frame.
That everybody knows, this is largely unscripted. It is a fireside chat from the field, so we're sort of rolling this as we go.
Here she is. Yeah.
Cool.
So please feel free to ask questions so that I can translate on her behalf.
Yes. Sure, great. Well, I suppose maybe just it would be great to know a little bit of the background. You said that she was 18 now, is she also part of your program?
As our executive director Kapil was sharing that HDCS work with communities, also raise awareness through radio. We are directly working with the different mothers group in different communities. They are mixture of different ethnic group, and they have different capacities and challenges. Through the work with mothers group, we have discovered that some of the issues are there about child marriage and also a child uh, undernutrition. And on that process, we realized that there are so many cases of child marriage. Why don't we talk with someone during this visit? So I was talking with her, who is close to me here. Uh, the family has a miserable situation because father got married with a second wife, and her mother was alone and could not bear the pain of children raising single mother raising children. That was quite challenging. There were five children, and her mother said that if you want to have better life, I think it would be better if you get married and you know the boy already and he loves you so much. And that was the best choice uh, her mother found on that particular moment. And while I was doing the conversation with her, even I was thinking, if I was on her place as a girl, what I would have done. And in the scenario of Nepal, many children come in society if there is support function is very weak, uh, and I'm not saying this was right, but that was the best choice she did. And here her husband with us and her child. And during the conversation, she also said that uh, at the moment she feels it was it was the decision made in consultation with the mother, respecting the scenario, but she feels that uh, other children should not do that what she had done. Yeah, and we can ask questions directly so that we can listen from her. म तपाईँलाई अलिकति सोध्छु है, हिजो हिजो अस्ति सोधेकै कुरा। तपाईँको घरको अवस्था के थियो, जुन कारणले गर्दा तपाईँहरूले विवाह गर्नुभयो? तपाईँ विवाह गर्दा चाहिँ 15 वर्षको हुनुहुन्थ्यो, तपाईँ चाहिँ कति 17 होइन, 17 कि 18? के कस्तो थियो अवस्था अनि किन विवाह गर्नुभयो?
अवस्था त अनि
घरको अवस्था कस्तो, अलिक ठुलो बोल्नु।
अवस्था त अनि यिनी त पाएका अनि चाहिँ आमा मरेको।
उहाँको पनि आमा हुनुहुन्न?
आमा मरेको अनि बुवाले चाहिँ कान्छी ल्याइदिँदैन, वास्तै नगर्ने इन्डियातिर हुनुहुन्छ। त्यही भएर सानैदेखि उतै हाम्रो गाउँतिर बस्नुहुन्थ्यो, त्यही भएर उता गयो है हिँड बस्छन् अन्त भिडिन हाम्रो।
अनि किन विवाह गर्नुभएको? किन विवाह गर्नुभएको त तपाईँले?
अनि यहाँ त्यही विवाह गरेपछि ती बस्ने हुन्छ भनेर ती बस्यो, ती गरे भनेपछि ती बस्यो।
तपाईँकै घरमा बस्नुभयो?
हजुर।
So boy's mother passed away, and also boy's father brought another lady, and he had a miserable life from the childhood, and he was on same village taking shelter with somebody else family, and this girl's family knows him from the childhood, and he was very honest, and they feel it is time to take care of this boy also by getting married. That's why she had chosen to get married. At the age of, she was 15 and he was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so Tanka, you mentioned that she had maybe a story to share or something that she wanted to kind of tell everyone. A lot of people on this live stream probably haven't been to Nepal before, so I don't know if she wanted to share anything.
अरु तपाईं के भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ? के कस्तो दुःख थियो जसको
अब भन्नाले पनि सर होइन सानैबाट आमा बिताउनु भयो होइन
हुन्छ ओके अलिक ठुलो
सानैबाट आमा बिताउनु बिताइसकेपछि यस्तै विविधता पाइयो होइन पाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ कहिल्यै अब यस्तो भौतारिनु भन्दा अब यो एक ठाउँ अब सानै छु सुन पनि तर एकछिन घरकाम गरेर एकछिन राम्रो ठाउँमा बस्न पाउँछु कि भनेर बिहे गरेर गरे हो अनि त्यसपछि अलिकति अब केही कुराहरू पनि बुझ्यो होइन केही कुराहरू पनि ध्यानमा आयो कि बस्नलाई पनि ठाउँ हो होइन बस्नलाई पनि बास हो भनौँ आफ्नो नभए पनि अर्को भयो भने बस्नलाई हो भनौँ होइन भइसकेपछि अब अझ ठुलो भयो बालबच्चा पनि ठुला हुँदै गयो होइन गरिसकेपछि अब आफूले अब खाने जुठाउँ कि अब बालबच्चालाई कपडा जुठाउँ कि आफूले लाउनु जुठाउँ कि खाने जुठाउँ कि त्यसपछि बालबच्चाले स्कुल पढाउँ कि बस्ने बास छैन खाने घाँस छैन होइन के गरी जुठाउँ भनेर यो सर आउनुभएको सरलाई पनि हाम्रो कुरा होइन तर यो ठिक छ म पनि अब सरसँग कुरा गर्छु सरले के भन्नुहुन्छ र म उयो गर्छु भनेर
So now why is talking about why they get married at a young age. He didn't have any support function, and he realized that if somebody is loving me and if I get any proper shelter in the cluster where I know from the childhood, why don't we get married? That's why he got married, and now they have children. They have a child, and life has been becoming miserable day by day. And on that process, through the mothers group, she got some opportunity to involve in the mothers group and discuss the idea, and that's how she got the courage to talk about the challenges. And also, she is benefited by the livelihood project, and she is part of the mothers group now. And during conversation, she said she want to raise the awareness in the community being part of this. हजुर अरू अरू तपाईँलाई भन्न मन लागेको केही छ हिजो अस्ति भनेकै कुरा भन्न सक्नुहुन्छ
युथहरूलाई चाहिँ अब के उसको सल्लाह सुझाव
जस्तो तपाईँहरूले जुन उमेरमा विवाह गर्नुभयो त्यस्तै उमेरसम्मका भाइ बहिनीहरूलाई साथीहरूलाई के भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ अब त्यो उमेरमा बिहे गर्नु कि नगर्नु अथवा गर्नुभन्दा पहिला के गर्नु त्यस्तो के भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ एक ताले गाली भन्नुहोस् है भन्नुहोस्
अब अनि सानो बिहे गरेपछि पनि दुःखी पाएँ अनि सानो उमेरमा बिहे गर्नुभन्दा आफूसँग भएको साथीलाई बिहे नगर्ने ठुलो भएको अनि धेरै पर्ने ठुलो मान्छेहरूसँग मात्र बिहे गर्ने अनि अलि ठुलो उमेर भएपछि बिहे गर्ने अब उसले पनि दुःख नपाओस् आफूले पनि अर्काले पनि दुःख नपाओस्.
So she is saying that those youngsters of my age should not get married because life is very miserable, and she is about to cry. Sorry if I also become emotional in the process. She is suggesting they should not get married, and they are unable to take care of themselves, and they won't be able to support others, and day by day life will be very hard. So they should study hard and become stronger before getting married. That's what she said. कुन उमेरमा अथवा के भइसकेपछि विवाह गर्नु जस्तो लाग्छ कति वर्षपछि गर्ने अथवा कस्तो भएपछि गर्ने
अनि धेरै भएपछि ठुलो उमेर भएपछि 20-25
now she is suggesting they should get married after 20 or 25 and become stronger, and that means emotionally, physically and mentally. भाइ तपाईँ के भन्न चाहनुहुन्छ त्यही प्रश्न कुन उमेरमा विवाह गर्ने के भएपछि गर्ने
अब धेरै पढेर अब धेरै जानी बुझेर धेरै पढेर आफ्नो दिने ठाउँ बनाएर त्यसपछि आफूले बिहे गरे पनि दुःख नपाउने हिसाबले अनि त्यसपछि पढेर हल्का अब के आफूले गर्नेसम्म भएर बिहे गर्ने
तपाईँहरूले अलि सानो उमेरमा विवाह गरेर आफू दरिद्र नभइकन विवाह गरेर झन् गाह्रो भयो जस्तो लाग्छ कि ठिक गरिएछ जस्तो लाग्छ
मेरो पनि अब यस्तो भयो अब यस्तो हुँदो रहेछ कि सर लास्टै दुःख पाएपछि कस्तो हुँदैछ भनेदेखि अब बोलाउनुभन्दा मर्नै ठुलो हुन्छ नि भनेर हो क्या त्यसैले अब मलाई लाग्यो कि अब म यसरी भौतारिनु भन्दा अब सानो केही घरकाम गरेर होइन बस्नलाई के भन्छ नै ठाउँ भएपछि म पनि के गर्न सक्छु कि भनेर
You said both of them are doing conversation about same question. Either you have any regret or you feel happy for doing child marriage, and he said it is always better to to be mad rather than die. That's why we did that decision, but it is not right, and we should be stronger before getting married. And while they get married, they thought that rather than being alone, being very vulnerable and weak in terms of different aspect, and there was no any support function, maybe I'll have another partner who would be support, but this is more vulnerable now.
Are there any questions from the group?
Do you have any question in the group? If you write on the chat, also I will follow those questions.
Yeah. We have one question. Someone's asking, how does her and her husband support their family?
That means how she is getting support from him.
Yeah. So does one of them have a job?
अहिले तपाईँहरूको परिवार चलाउनको लागि तपाईँले कसरी सहयोग गरिराख्नु भएको छ अथवा के गर्नुहुँदैछ?
म अहिले काम गर्छु सर
के काम गर्नुहुन्छ? कस्तो छ?
मलाई पनि अब यस्तो अलिअलि मुस्किल काम पनि आउँछ होइन,
अथवा पढेको भए अलिकति केही गरेको झन् सजिलो हुन्थ्यो कि कस्तो लाग्छ?
त्यस्तै लाग्छ सर। अनि अघि पछि साथ दिने मान्छे भइदिएको भए अन्त पढेर पनि म पनि ठुलो बोल्थेँ कि भन्ने सपना आउँछ।
सो हिज लेबर काम कहाँनिर गर्नुहुन्छ? कति टाढा?
नौला
सधैँ एउटै ठाउँमा हो कि फरक फरक ठाउँमा?
अहिले नौला फरक फरक ठाउँ।
So he goes around searching for jobs. Sometimes he gets daily wages. Sometimes he is not getting that, and he says that if there is any support function and if I had studied well, then definitely I would have best opportunity and I would be able to support the family. And now searching job here and there, I have to keep roaming and keep seeking for the daily wage also.
What kind of job?
He's working as a mason. Mason working
hitting rocks.
Construction, hitting rocks and digging in the mud.
And how much?
Yeah. कति पाउनुहुन्छ दिनको? त्यो काम पाएको दिन कति पाउनुहुन्छ पैसा?
महिनामा हुन्छ सर।
दिन महिनामा कति पाउनुहुन्छ?
महिनामा त्यो 800 रुपैयाँले
कति?
800 रुपैयाँ
महिना कति?
24 भनेको
$200
$200
महिनाको. He gets a job. It's not regular, but if he gets regular job, then it's around $200 per month. But US dollar.
And how far would
And he needs to work 3 hours to go on roadside right now, and
he travels 3 hours?
Yeah, he travels 3 hours to reach there, and if he wants to come back home, again 3 hours work. There is no any every day, and that is not always constant. Sometimes even 4 hours work, and he is also far from family at many times.
Is that situation common? Like having to travel 2-3 hours, and then it'd been hard to find work because of that?
In a way, if just I consider this particular case of getting daily wages, he seems a lucky one. There are many families who are not even getting that kind of job.
Wow.
तपाईँ अब भविष्यको बारेमा के सोच्नु हुँदैछ? के गर्ने त अब? कसरी परिवार चलाउने, के बनाउने, उसलाई के बनाउन चाहनुहुन्छ?
त्यसलाई सकेपछि त पढाएर ठुलो मान्छे बनाउनु, आफू जस्तो नहोस्.
So she is saying that she wanted to give better education to her child so that her child would not go through that circumstances in near future. And both husband and wife are committed and striving hard to achieve that goal.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your story. We just had another question come through. What learnings from her situation? Maybe when she joined the group, did she learn anything when she joined?
तपाईँ आमा समूहमा सदस्य हुनुहुन्छ अब आगामी दिनमा के गर्नुहुन्छ
अहिलेसम्म के सिक्नुभयो?
अनि के सिकाइ के भयो त्यो समूहमा बसेर हजुर
समूहमा बसेपछि के भन्नु अब त्यस्तै डिजिटल सिलाएको अब सानो उमेरमा बिहा जाने अनि बिहे गरेपछि दुःख पाएको छ आफू हुनु नदिने अरूलाई पनि अनि ठुलो मात्र बिहा गर्ने अनि 20-25 अथवा त्योभन्दा बढी नै भएपछि बिहे गर्ने सामना दिनु।
So her learning is being a part of women's group. She has been learning so many things, and also she wanted to tell other girls and other women not to get married in young age and be strong before getting married. And she will be looking forward for the opportunities, and she will be striving to raise awareness in the community in the days to come. And she wanted to be a stronger part of the community as a member of women group.
Wow. And I suppose, do you think, I mean, I think you mentioned this, but because of the mothers group, do you think that is a way to prevent, I guess, child marriage from happening in the community?
Yeah, out of many approaches, one is that mobilizing the mothers group, because community moves along with the decision of mothers, because they are the decision makers and they are the caretaker of the whole family. In some of the families, father makes the decision, but implementation comes from the mother. So they are the pioneer of the community change process. Whereas as an organization, HDCS would look forward for working together with the decision makers like elected member of municipalities in district as well as in the province, and working together among the development partners. And that requires a rigorous process and requires lots of resources and encouragement to the staffs and the key community decision makers too.
Wow. Well, thanks so much for sharing the story. Very, very insightful. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity that we could talk together about the current issue in Nepal.
I think if I could add, Ryan,
Yeah.
some of the other issues is around clean water and sanitation. And we have been visiting projects, mainly in schools, where you'd have a school of 500 kids with a latrine pit, no separate facilities for girls. So when girls start to menstruate, they don't go to school quite often. Some of them are kept away from the family and the normal family activities. So through the Australian government support and through the Rotary Club Operation Toilets initiative, we have been able to construct really hygienic, decent toilets in the schools, and we have been visiting that to confirm that they're constructed and confirm that they're constructed to suitable standards. And the girls, we've interviewed a number of girls who've said the difference it makes to them, even that the toilets have separate running water in them, that they can clean themselves properly. It lets them come to school, whereas previously they wouldn't have been able to. And that's the one aspect. And because many families are really suffering from extreme poverty in this region, Nepal's a poor country. The region we are working in here is poor within Nepal. So many families don't have the means to have 3 meals a day. And in some schools, we have been supporting feeding programs and generally supported by the Tanka Foundation in one particular school. And we're going to visit that school this afternoon to actually ask, just to assess the impact, meet the students, meet the teachers. But what seem like small initiatives to us are absolutely transformational at a grassroots level. And we've seen that endlessly. As you progress through the schools, I also noticed, like in many schools, the more senior years, the class groups get smaller, because for a family that doesn't have any money to keep a child in school is a huge sacrifice. The father sometimes goes overseas for 5 years, longer. There's a whole lot of then domestic issues that come into the fore. And we were discussing with some of the kids that in a way their adult selves will thank their childhood selves for having stuck it out against difficult circumstances. Because in some ways the children are the parents of the adults, and for them sticking it out as much as they have been, they're actually giving their adult self a much more stable, decent prospect. So the kids are very insightful. There was this one child that struck me because he was quite obviously blind in one eye, and it was just in many emotional moments in a trip like this, and that was one because he was just doing what he does in the school book. Do you want to relay that? When I asked him to take a photograph of the principal and myself, I asked one other kid to take a photograph of the principal and myself, and I hit the reverse button on the camera so that one of the pictures, when the principal went through the pictures, would be this kid squinting into his camera taking the photo, but he was smart enough to catch me out. The other aspect to that, though, is Tanka asked the child that I'd asked to take the photograph. I asked this child with one eye, what did he think of me asking a child to take a photograph? Isn't that child labor?
And his response was, it's a means of participation, and by this participation he is being able to support and learning something, and he's not getting any money for taking pictures, so that shouldn't be considered as a child labor.
It's inclusivity.
Yeah, it's inclusion.
So the other thing, as hard as the life is, you see a lot of kids having a lot of fun, and a lot of parents happy with life. This isn't a glass half full culture. This is half empty. I forget the saying, but you know what I mean. They're not feeling hard done by. They embracing opportunities that come their way, and the kids. Every school has a very basic volleyball net in the schoolyard, and they're playing it hard. So yeah, it's not a downcast society. It's one that's very positive and forward-looking, and any opportunities given, they embrace it. And I'm really looking forward to visiting the Taka Foundation funded program this afternoon to see what the impact is of even lunch programs in a school, where in one school we said, I was asking them about computers. They know the future is technology. The schools don't have computers. I asked them about libraries, and they said they've got a library corner. And then as an after comment, they said, but it has no books. And I said, could I have a look at it? And I went and I saw there were these 2 empty shelves with a school of 600 kids. That's the library corner. And I just thought, wow. But these are all programs we're working with our partner HDCS to find scalable and lowest possible cost ways of dealing with water. Access to water is another big issue. If you're at the top of they call it a hill here, but I'd call it a mountain. If you're at the top of a mountain and there's not a lot of water, and there's a school, because that's where the communities live, you've got a problem. And school kids are drinking contaminated water. Through the Australian government assistance, we've been able to put in some water purification plants. Some schools just don't have scalable solutions to that. So with our partner in Nepal, though, we are exploring many of those issues. The other opportunities that are presented are solar and
Electricity is not reliable here, and it has not reached every household, and some cluster are already left out. So solar energy can be another option, and maybe smoke stove, something.
Yeah, the other issue that's come up is lung cancer is increasing. There's not been much cancer in the community. It's been very organic and living on the land. But increasingly the use of pesticides and herbicides and vaccines and hormones in food that they've had to access because of cost has increased. Their belief that it's grounded in that has increased the incidence of cancer. They also rely on very smoky stoves, which has increased the incidence of lung cancer. So some of those cooking solutions are things that we're looking at too, and how solar can support that.
David and Tanka, we did have a question from the comment section. Given that this is such a kind of multifaceted issue, I mean, you have child marriage, education, health and hygiene. I think it's safe to say the root all ties back to poverty in these communities oftentimes. Where do you foresee our partnerships with individuals like Kapil and Tanka? How can we make the most immediate impact, or how can donors make the most immediate impact?
There are so many challenges. We may not tackle all the challenges at a time, but we should give our best. And as an implementing partner, HDCS aims to work together with the communities, and to make community self-resilient, we need to develop their capacity in local level. For that, we need skill development training for the mothers group as well as to the youth. Mothers group are the pillar of the community. That's why we need to empower them, as well as youths are the hope for the community, and they are migrating either in the plain area looking for the opportunities, or they are going abroad, or short-term job opportunities looking for in India. So if we empower them, definitely it will be a great help, and we can work together in terms of developing skills in plumbing. We can develop a skill of women's group in local level entrepreneurship development, like from farming to the business setup in local level, as well as there are also so many other issues associated with disaster management, climate change, and irrigation. Hand in hand, we can address this working together. That's what we are aiming for. And for this, we need a wider partnership and a kind-hearted people, and also the passion. And geographical location is such a difficult varieties of setup. We need lots of support to reach there, and modern technology also needed. For an example, if we want to provide quality education in school, then we need to link digital technology to the low tech, whereas teachers are unable to understand the English and they are not getting running electricity. We need to install solar backups, all those things, and huge piles of work. We need to work together, and we are looking for the opportunities to work together with you all.
It was quite interesting in response to that too. I was trying to look for an easy answer to that question in saying to Tanka and to some of the health post workers, maternal child health, the health awareness is so important, and people recognize that, but so is the ability to earn an income to help you get out of that poverty cycle, and education. And I was trying to find which is the important one, which is the go-to, and nobody let me off the hook on that, because obviously they're all so interconnected. And the advantage of these projects is that they are interconnected in the way that they're implemented. Through our project in Nepal, our joint project, we employ social mobilizers. So at a community level, across a number of families and a number of communities, there are people who work house to house, community to community, support the mothers groups around maternal child health, support the mothers groups around basic farming practice and setting up new livelihoods programs. So the grassroots social mobilizer is critical to success. And that role, I think, is one that we're going to explore through this visit, is how to expand it and how to bring them together possibly to expand their skills and knowledge. Because I was in one school and I met this little kid, I don't know, 8 to 11, he was a small boy. And I said, so what do you want to do when you're old like me? And he said, how old are you? And I said, 91. And we eventually settled that no, that wasn't the right age, but he said he wants to be a doctor. And this is probably one of the poorest communities, in a school that didn't have a single electronic teaching aid, not a computer, no library, only for the first time a latrine. I want to be a doctor. And little did we know at that time, his oldest sister had come first in the district in her final year studies. His other sister had been a key advocate for girls' rights, because girls carry a load of additional labor. If there's labor to be done and it's a boy going to school or a girl going to school, the boy goes to school typically. If there's an issue of I've got meager resources and I'm going to, in my inheritance, who do I leave it to? A number of girls groups said it's not the girl who gets it, it's default that any inheritance goes to the boy. So she was spoken about that. So going back to this kid, he said he wants to be a doctor, and I just thought to myself, what's his journey to get there? And I had no doubt that he'll be a doctor, but his journey is going to be so tough.
Absolutely. On that note, we have another question from the comments. Someone is interested to know if there's any data on the school retention rates among adolescent girls compared to adolescent boys. I'm not sure if Mark is referring to post the project impacting them or prior. But Tanka, can you touch on both sides, maybe how retention rates and girls versus boys compares in the community, and then also after the project has been implemented, how girls' retention rates have increased?
There is no any research done in this particular district, and also there is no any data which is consistent, but participation of women and girls has been increased in the respective area. For an example, school enrollment of girl child has been increased after the MCS project implemented, and also livelihood implemented in the respective community, because they could get proper food, and also they could get better environment in school. That is seen. Also the provision of sanitary pad and some level of awareness raising activities in classroom settings, that has helped them to continue the education. But in terms of participation women's group, since generation women were working in the community, but they are not organized, they are not aware how they should move on. Through this group approach and through the livelihood project we implemented in the respective community, they learn how they can create synergy working together in a group. That has helped to get organized, get support from one another, and there is technical support from project staffs, as well as they can get timely support from respective municipality, that is government unit. That has helped their enrollment in the development process. Most of the women are saying that they are now able to stand in front of other people and speak up, and they can raise their voice. As a development worker, I will say this is the empowerment of women through this project.
That's really incredible, that impact, just having more of that voice in the community, and the ripple effects that has. Mark just responded, and he was interested in knowing, prior to the project, maybe just if there's no data that we have, what is that comparison like between girls and boys going to school in the community? Is it, twice as many boys are more likely to go to school than girls are? What is that difference like?
Participation of boys and girls are very encouraging at the moment. Just to reply this particular question, even though we don't have data, but in front of David, many stakeholders said that if there was no any project, then school enrollment would have been less and dropout ratio would have been increased, and that was the past history of almost all schools. And also where project is not working at the moment, we have been getting frequent requests. If you come on our particular community, then definitely it will be a great help to enhance our community situation. That's how the significance of the project.
I think also in response to that question, Mark, is each project has a baseline assessment and an end-line assessment. So the impact of projects is reviewed as part of a monitoring and evaluation cycle that we've not yet completed. So that there is a consultant employed as part of the project to evaluate its impact. And that's important in terms of our accountability to supporters, but also the accountability to the Australian government, the Australian NGO Cooperation Program, ANCP. Just to remind you, International Needs Australia is one of a very few NGOs that are fully accredited within that framework. So within that framework, there's additional funding for this particular program, but with that comes a very high level of expectation around engagement with community, assessment of impact. So in all donors and supporters have the benefit of knowing that what we have to do in terms of measuring impact is implemented at the highest possible level, because it's a fundamental requirement of our relationship with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
We have another question as well, going back to partnerships. So considering private sector development initiatives, how do you see co-partnerships between us and our local grassroots organizations, as well as businesses here in Australia, working to meet ESG targets? This might be more of a question for you, David, but Tanka would love to hear your input from the local community side as well.
Yeah.
I think I've made a lot of notes to myself and for us to talk about with Kapil and Tanka when we debrief on this visit. And I think, when you look at the impact of solar technology, there's a partnership there between universities, students and academics to find low-cost, sustainable solutions to energy and heating needs at an individual household level that relies on solar. There's a relationship there with the private sector in terms of something that's low cost and going to withstand the conditions. So we see partnerships that need to be greater than the sum of the parts. So what a commercial provider can do, what a university can do, what an NGO can do, what our partner on the ground can do in communities needs to be brought together into a program that we can put in front of each of us and in front of the research funding agencies that exist in Australia to have real meaningful programs supported that make a difference in people's lives and are not diminishing the value of other research and implementation that's happening. But we think we can really put something together here that adds value to each of the partners. I think there's also the question that we have to have, the discussion we need to have about, is our partnership around issues like health, education, livelihoods, gender-based violence and climate change mitigation. So we look at it as a whole, and with HDCS as our bridge into these communities versus saying these are the communities we're working in and how can we take them on a journey. So we're going to need to resolve that, and Sanva, who is our international programs lead, will need to take a leading role in that conversation. But at the end of the day, there's the opportunity to develop a model school, a model agricultural production facility, that a model health outpost that uses technology creatively, that uses digital delivery and education creatively, that can be a model for other schools. So whatever we do needs to be scalable and impactful. We can't be a corner store making an impact on a day-to-day transactional way on people's lives. As important as that is, I'm not diminishing it, but we need to make sure that what we do does satisfy the basic need, but is going to contribute to a community more widely. So commercial partnerships, particularly in the livelihood space, is where we see the potential. Agriculture, seed production, value chain. One group of women came to us at the car as we go and say they want to get into the manufacture of arts and crafts and take that to market. There's a whole lot of opportunities for Australians to co-design solutions with communities, and at the end of the day, it's work in progress, but we do see this isn't about charitable handouts. This is about each of us grabbing a different oar and paddling in a way that grows what each of us is doing. So we see some commercial benefits to commercial partners. We see some key opportunities for learning and scalability and impact for funding partners. And most important, we see what the difference can be at a community level.
For HDCS, it is a great challenge as it is an opportunity to have partnership with a private sector in local level about how to sell our local product of the farmers group that is organic. And Nepal government, especially Karnali province, is willing to declare itself a organic province, for which we have to set up a organic farm. We need to show them how it look like, and also we need to create the market. And definitely the private sector of this particular community and private sector of Australia can work together to have local as well as international connection, and through that we can learn local level. We can get the technology that is adapted in Australia, as well as we can sell the product, or we can exchange the idea which already exists and that is beneficial for both ends.
So when I mentioned earlier increased incidence of cancer being attributed to the introduction of some meat products and other products that are pesticide and whatever laden, those are products that are coming into the community, not from the community. So when you talk about products coming out of these, what I call very high mountains, and Tanka calls a little mound or hill, when we talk about organic, this is organic. This is a potential branding opportunity as well that could be co-developed with community.
Thank you both for answering that. I really like how you talked about there's that opportunity for the value on all sides of the partnership, and really just coming together to make the greater impact in a sustainable way. I'm just looking through here if we have any more questions.
And we've got 2 minutes left on our schedule, 1.5 minutes left on our schedule. So
we actually ran on time.
We actually ran on time in the end. So anyone who needs to duck off, obviously from our side, we understand that, and happy to answer any other questions. But I'm really looking forward to this afternoon seeing the program funded by the Tanka Foundation, the Feeding One and the Rotary.
Yeah.
The Rotary Operation Toilets school facility, because at the end of the day, working from a distance and supporting these programs on the ground I wish there was a virtual way of sharing what that impact actually is. But it's real, and I'll try to capture some of it when we do that to be able to share it later today. But it's really, really impactful, both at a school level, community level, and just an individual child. A girl who's able to go into a latrine now and do what she needs to do and keep coming to school, and it's real.
On that note, do you have any final last words for donors and supporters and what you would tell them about the project or how to support?
Just could I? Yeah, I think just from our point of view, at the end of the day, the advantage of International Needs Australia and the way we work with partners is it is a smaller NGO, and we see benefit in that because we're able to work with communities that the larger NGOs just can't work with and don't need to work with because they deliver very large scale programs on the main street and they're dealing with big issues and making significant change. So I'm not seeking to diminish it, it's awesome work. But for those that are interested in impactful change, I believe it's more impactful change because the work that needs to be done and the steps that the person has to climb up to get to the same level are much higher, probably at the same cost. I mean, it's marginally higher in some cases. We provide a real opportunity to also connect supporters to the field. So this conversation is an example. We would look to co-designing projects between an actual community, a mothers group community, a donor, a supporter, and HDCS and ourselves. We offer that opportunity, and I think that's quite unique because this is a journey for each of us. We all have different contributions to make and needs to satisfy. You know, we all want to make a difference in different ways, and I think we can uniquely offer that. I think as part of that, we also do have the opportunity for supporters to visit the field. So my experience on roads that have rearranged my skeleton, literally, are things that we open to sharing. You know, to understand the impact of your work. You need to actually visit the community and look into the eyes of the people whose lives have been changed, and we can offer that. And I think we look forward to bringing a group to Nepal in the near future to be able to share that. And something we've spoken about a number of times on the trip is we'd love to share this journey with you.
And HDCS is always ready to welcome you all. And you know, all these mountains, small hills for me and mountain for David, waiting for you, and your presence makes lots of difference on this year. Welcome.
It was quite funny yesterday, just as a side note, we were on there's only single track roads on these hills. So if you meet a car coming the other way, you have to sort of negotiate how you're going to get past each other. And if someone's broken down and can't move, you'll sit there for a day plus. And we came around the corner and there was a tractor with a trailer, and they said, "Oh no, this is broken down." And we switched the engine off and we were frustrated, and then we just resigned ourselves to an afternoon or a day sitting in the car on the top of this mountain while they waited to repair the tractor. And once they saw that we'd given up, teenagers, this is a Nepal prank. The teenagers roared with laughter and said, "Nah, we're just kidding." And they drove, then they carried on driving. So there's no lack of humor in the mountains, but it's Nepal style.
Yeah, that is our way of making fun.
David, I have to ask about the seatbelt incident.
Sorry?
I have to ask about the seatbelt incident.
Ah, yes. No, I haven't owned up to Tanka because he's been quite responsible on this trip by saying, "Wear your seatbelt, David." And sometimes I have been, and this time I didn't. And I never knew my head.
And you paid the price, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize that my head actually could bend over that far. It was literally absolutely parallel with my shoulder by the end of that jolt. So went over the bump and my head hit the roof of the vehicle and we carried on our way. But that is literally the way it is.
It's just one day matter for him, but it is a life for many people, lifelong journey.
Oh, well, thanks so much. And this is the first time we did a live stream. So
it is the first.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for joining, and thanks Ryan and Madeline for initiating it.
Thank you, Tanka and David, for taking the time to be with us and share the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you.
You see how instinctively that came. I'm used to the greeting now in Nepal.
Good.
So as you said, thank you, I went like that without thinking.
All right. Trained him well.
That's right.
Cool.
Done.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you both. To all the donors, we will be sharing David's journey in Nepal over the coming weeks, sending out the photos and the videos and the amazing stories of the beneficiaries. So stay tuned for that. Right.
Cool.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.